about some good old bebop jazz to get you jumping? I love bebop jazz. Bebop, hard bop, swing. I love it all. I love the more harmonic, melodic jazz as opposed to new age jazz. And I think this piece has it. This piece is a little more happy as opposed to minor and sad. But I do stick some blues and some minor bebop scales in there. We're actually using quite a bit of the dominant bebop dominant scale in G, A, B flat, and C. I'm also employing the use of a circle of fourths. For those of you who don't know what the circle of fourths are, essentially, if I'm in the key of G, G7, as in this piece, turn that down because I turned my volume down for the rhythm. As we are here, the fourth of G would be G, A, B, C. So while playing the gist behind this piece is playing in a 2-5-1 chord progression. Jazz is well known for not actually starting in the key that it's in. Now, to a lot of people that play rock and blues, that's a little weird. And I have to be honest, when I started studying jazz, I started studying it significantly about 15 years ago. I thought the same thing. I thought, this is weird, but eventually you get the hang of it. So we're in the key of G when we start the piece. So we actually start on an A. Now, instead of using A major, which we could use to it, if you wanted to sound very more poppy, I actually started in A minor 7. So the chord progression at the beginning of this piece goes. Now, a lot of people look at that and go, there's a fair amount of chord changing there. I'm putting some embellishments in there. So I'm essentially D7 sliding from the F sharp to the F. And you can do that. That's the thing about jazz. You can go to the major to the minor like that. It's quite common. Now, of course, like every other solo, I'll start it piece by piece. We don't want the video going on forever, though, so I'll just do it as quickly as I can. Just call up the video so I can see myself. So there we go. I'm looking fine. Okay. So we're starting off in G bebop dominant. Now, we call it bebop dominant. It's essentially dominant, is the dominant scale. It's basically a mixture of G minor, or actually A minor and G major, really, in most aspects. Now, of course, we're starting off in A, but I am A minor 7, but I'm starting off with the 7th, which is G. So we are playing G bebop dominant, and I'm actually starting on a G note. So in that sense, theoretically, it makes a lot of sense. So it's basically. So. That's the first part of the solo. Now I changed things up a bit. Now the chords that I played, that goes over the chords just perfectly. The next part of the solo, we'll go to. I essentially use A blues for this part. Now we've ended on the G, so it's usually important not to have to stop there and then go to a different part of the neck, and it'll expedite your playing. The playing will be a little more smooth, but also just you should know the neck. Knowing your guitar neck as well as possible is a good thing. So now we're going to go A to C real quick. So we've got 3/16 notes. So I'm going A, C, E, and then I'm hitting the E flat, which is the flatted 7th of the A minor scale. So then we're going to repeat that pattern again with the A and the C here, except that I'm going to go E flat E this time. So it goes. And now, this is the thing about jazz. I'm essentially playing the blues. I'm essentially just playing, 4 blues notes from, in the A blues scale. But if if you notice, this is played with a triplet feel. This is played with a jumping feel. It's a swing feel, which is, you know, essentially a big part of bebop and swing style jazz. And then taking advantage of the F, because by this time we're in the D. We're at the D, so you can use the F. You can use F, F sharp, the D, of course. So it's. Now here, what I'm doing is, again, I'm using a blue note, the C sharp, the C sharp. Which you would find in the G blues scale. We can take advantage of that. And then I'm just doing, you know, these semitone slides are wonderful for jazz. They give it such a nice feeling. Okay, next part is a nice little quick hammer on and slide. Again, taking advantage of the A minor blues scale. So basically, it's just played fairly quickly. Then I take care that I'm looking into the A bebop dominant blues and Mixolydian scale. So I'm going from G sharp to A to the C. So see if I can do that slower. Then by this time, of course, we're back into the D. So I'll do a B, A, G, back to the A. So rest a bit on the B. Now, of course, we're finishing off. We're back at the first now, at the 1. So for this, I took advantage of the G bebop minor scale, which is employing the B flat in with the B. So that's a run that would go. Now, this is where we make our change to the C. So we're in G, and going from G to C works wonderfully. Now the thing about the circle of fourths is you could do this forever. So the natural progression for this, of course, is C to F to B flat. But of course, it's jazz, so we're going to color things up a little bit. I'm using an A suspended 4C, or it could be an A6 add 9. It's the same chord as I played in my blues shuffle piece. So I apologize about that. So we're going from the A suspended fourth, or I'm going to call it a C add 6/9, to an F7, to essentially a B flat 7. But I just play the open D. So it's. That's not the actual progression way it's played, but that's basically the way it's going. And the beginning lead behind that, I'm starting from the D to the C. Then I'm doing a semitone slide from the G sharp to the A. Again, taking advantage of a blue note, then an E flat. So it goes wonderfully over that chord. Then I'm going into the minor, playing the G and the E flat. And then going into the C dominant. So It just it's so jazzy, isn't it? It's almost got that swing um, World War II circa sound to it, which I love. I think it's great. Songs like "In the Mood," I thought that was wonderful music. Okay, and then of course we're just going into a B flat arpeggio from here, taking advantage of the bebop or um, the or the B flat minor scale. So from there again we'll go and on that the G sharp is the seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we end on the minor there, which just sounds great. I think that sounded good. You know, that just came naturally to me, and I went, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Now, of course, we're back to C. So we sharp. It's simple from here. You do I slide from this G sharp back to the G, uh, the G and C. So the B flat, A, and G. You'll get away with the B. You'll get away with the B flat, of course. C7. You'll get away with the A, of course, because that's the relative minor, and then the G. So now a little quick run. F to E to E flat. All will go fine with C, F. By that time, we're in the F7. And C, B flat, or C, B, and A work. Now, no, this is a little weird. We just used B flat, now we're using B. So now we're essentially using what would be considered B flat major, or the dominant, and then going into a minor. So it's a little strange, but you know, once you know the neck and you understand how things can interconnect. Now, this is the thing: is what notes to go to. You could play a bunch of jazz scales, and that's fine. But if you just play them and nothing is connected properly, if the leading notes aren't connected properly, it can sound like a bunch of scales, really. So now you play something similar to. I'm in B flat, of course. So now G. So I'm essentially playing B flat major 7 scale here, essentially. So which is basically something like that, right? A lot of West Montgomery. A lot of people use that scale. Okay, Joe Pass. Okay, so this run will go pretty quickly. You could do a glass or just stay there. The thing about jazz is, you know, vibrato is great. Sometimes I used a vibrato when I was coming back to that, when I was coming to that B flat 7, the seventh note of the B flat minor scale. But a lot of times, you know, just straight up notes. I mean, you know, you don't really have to put a lot of embellishment on them. It's how it's phrasing. Jazz is mostly phrasing, not dynamics and tricks. And then the last run will go. Now again, we're back into the G. This is G bebop minor. We're taking advantage of with some D mixolydian in there, D blues, which is basically what we end on. So it goes. And then I end on a B suspended 4 D, which the ending chord, believe it or not, in the rhythm is a G13. So I'm playing a G13 with this over top of it, and they work. So this is where the magic of guitar, this, 6-string guitar, comes into play. There are so many secrets. There are just so many secrets that you can take advantage of on this instrument. There's so many little holes and doors, open doors, and that's what's wonderful about this instrument. You know, some people take guitar and they'll take it for a little while and they'll kind of put it down. They'll either lose interest or they'll gain other interests or whatever. You know, I've been known to put the guitar down for a few years at a time sometimes too. And sometimes it's out of frustration of not progressing. But the thing is, this is why studying all kinds of different music will A, make you a better musician, and B, just keep your interest up. Because it happens to all of us. Sometimes you just lose interest, you know, and it can happen even with something as passionate as music and playing guitar, you know. It can happen to me. Sometimes I get in a lull. So what I'll do is I'll go, you know what? I heard this. I heard some music the other day. It could be something from Africa. It could be some ska, reggae. It could be something Caribbean. Could be gypsy jazz, you know, Django Reinhardt, something like that. And I go, you know what? I'm going to learn that. And then you start learning it, and then you reappreciate how many different forms of music there are. You know, when I was younger, I was into the shred and I was into metal. You know, I started playing in metal bands. That's how I started. By the time I got in my late 20s, I started realizing, you know, I got to learn something else. And it's not that metal. I don't still love metal. It's just, you know, I know that in order to become a good musician, I'm going to have to learn as much as I can. And music is all interrelated. It doesn't matter what you play. You know, I'll be getting into modes and other things later, getting into modes, modal scales over jazz chords, things like that. This isn't a difficult piece. It seems that way. It's about 165 beats per minute, so sometimes you're going to have to play a little quick. There are some 16th notes in here. Practice your picking, your alternate picking, and the one thing about jazz, about this, it's played laid back. This isn't aggressive music, right? It's played in a very laid back context. Well, if you hear banging and such in the background, I apologize. I have a new kind of crazy neighbor, so I'm trying to deal with that. And oh, you notice the headset? I picked that up for $100 used. It's a Shure, so it's a good unit, and it should sound okay. And hopefully I can block out a lot of my street noise and whatnot by wearing it. And hopefully I didn't make too many bangs and whatnot. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace out.